So today we're going to be understanding CSS selectors. So first of all, we'll understand element selector. After that, we're going to understand class selector, then ID selector, then precedent selector, as followed as pseudo-class, and then attribute selectors. So let's get started. So I already wrote the HTML code with this and I associated all of these characters so it could be easy for you to understand. So I'll just give an overview of the things once again. So we started with the boilerplate and then we went down, we linked our CSS page with it. I.css is our link of it. So below that we added a paragraph, and this is a paragraph style with element selector. We're gonna style it later on. Then there's another paragraph that will be also styled the same way. Then there's a highlight, and this is a class selector. So followed as there's an ID selector. This main title is an ID selector. Then there's a precedent selector. There's a precedent selector, and then there's a pseudo class. This hash, you could write your link inside and it's gonna hover and it's gonna change its colors. As followed as there's an attribute selector at the end. This is an attribute selector. So let's get started with our code. I already linked all of these and I'm gonna show you how are we gonna link them and how are they gonna work. So we're gonna open our CSS page. So we're gonna be using external CSS. In this one, we could have done inline, and we could have done internal, but it was going to get a lot of messed up. So making things simpler, we're going to be using external CSS. So let's get started with it. First of all, we'll say, okay, we want to change our paragraph. We want to make our paragraph, we want to change the style of the paragraph. Let's change the color of the paragraph. See, these are two paragraphs. So let's go over there. We're going to write paragraph. We're going to go over here below and we're going to say color. We want to change the color and we want to change the color to blue. So let's save this and let's go, we'll go on the web page over here, what we created, view in File Explorer, open this. We see this, all of these paragraph has been turned into blue color. So that's what we wanted to happen. So let's do something like this. We'll make both in the same page, and we'll do something like this, which is gonna help us a lot. So we see we made the paragraph, all of these paragraphs. So the CSS code understood, okay, as much paragraph as we used in the whole code, we're just gonna make the whole code paragraph, whatever we used, it's just gonna make them blue. So wherever we used the paragraph, it made them blue. You could see we use paragraph over here to paragraph over here to paragraph. So for changing things, we're gonna go below. This is how we did our element selector. So below this, we're gonna use a class selector for our highlight. So I'll show you how we use class selector. So you see over here, there's a highlight. This is a paragraph has a yellow color background using the class selector. So we'll change the color with this. We'll change the color of this of the highlight selector. So we'll go back in our CSS. We'll go over here and we're gonna write dot highlight, and we'll open this bracket and we'll say background color. We want to change the background color to yellow because I already wrote it yellow before. So I'll save this, I'll go over here, I'll refresh it, and you see the background color of this turned into yellow, which is really fascinating. We said that we want to change the background using the class selector, and you see this paragraph has no class, so it is not affected. You see this below one is not affected because we could have wrote a class over here. We could have specified this was the class too, so this background was going to be changed too, but we didn't. We just wanted to change the first one, and we told the paragraph has a yellow background color using the class selector. So I hope you understood this highlight. This is a class selector. I hope you understood this class selector. So after this, we're going to use an ID selector. You see over here that we used a main title over here. This ID main title, this is a main title. This is a main title style with the ID selector. This is the main title style with the ID. This paragraph won't be affected by the ID selector since it has an different ID. So we're going to be doing this. We're going to be changing this. So we'll write the CSS code for this. We're going to associate the main title. Then we're going to open our brackets. And inside this, we're going to change the font size because we want to do a little different. We'll do 24 pixels. We'll change it to 24 pixels, and we'll change the color of this. We'll change the color into orange. Let's make it a little different this time. So this is the main style within the ID selector. You see that the size changed to, I'll change it to 14 so you could know what we changed. Well, I'll save this again and I'll refresh this. You see it turned into 14, it turned smaller. I'm gonna make it to 30 pixels over here and then refresh it over here. See, it turned 30 pixels. This is the main style with the ID selector. See that this paragraph won't be affected by the ID selector since it has a different ID. We didn't associate that one. We didn't associate this class. So if we associated this ID selector and we wrote that the main title over here too, we wrote the ID main title over here. So this was going to be changed, but we didn't want it. So this is how I'm telling you. So if you want to change the color, you're just going to write the background and just going to change the color, not the background. You're going to change the color into blue. So following by, if you want to change the background of specific thing, you could say, okay, we want to change the background. If you want to change the ID, you want to change the color, or you want to change the style or the font size, you could do the font size accordingly. So let's go down and we'll see the precedent selector. So this is the precedent selector over here. This container div. We write the precedent container. We write the selector inside a container. These div containers, we write both of them in the div container. You see, this is a paragraph inside the container and will be italic. This is a paragraph outside and the container will not be styled. So let's style it right now. So we'll go after this main title, we'll go below and we'll write a container. We added a container P, which is a paragraph, and we're gonna be writing over here. We'll change the font style, and we wanna italic. We just want to make it italic. We're gonna save it over here, and we see this paragraph is inside the container and will be italic. You see that the other one didn't be italic just because we didn't add this in the container. If we add this in the container too, like you see over here, I'll cut this, and below this, after the paragraph, I'll paste this over here and I'll save it over here. See, both of them are italicized, and this is how it's gonna work, but we didn't want this right now. We want it to be as normal. We want everything to work perfectly. This paragraph is inside the container and will be italic. This paragraph is outside the container and will not be styled. You see that this code, for making a container, we're just going to write the paragraph and font style, and we're going to change the font style. So for the pseudo class, this hover link, you see there's no hover link inside. I'm moving my cursor on top, the color is not changing. So we'll go inside our in our CSS and we're going to change the color over here. We're going to be writing for this a hover sorry, a hover, no, sorry. We're going to be writing a hover, which is our class over here, and we're going to be writing inside this color. We want to change the color. What do we want to change the color to? I will change it to red, so it could be something different this time. So after this, we'll add a semicolon inside. So we'll save this and we'll see it will change. You see, whenever now I'm moving my cursor over here, it's turning to red color. So once again, I'll cut this over here. I'll cut this, then I'll save this, then I'll refresh it, and you see the color is not changing. The color is not changing over here. So when I come over here, I paste this over here and I save it. Then I move it over here, I move the cursor and it's changing into red color. So this is how the pseudo class hover element is gonna work. So if you want to change the link over here, if you want to, look, I'm gonna click this, it's not gonna bring me to anywhere. It's just a corrupted link. So it's just a hash symbol. So there's a hash symbol over here, so it's bringing me over there. I'll show you in the HTML code. You see over here, there's a hash symbol over here. I could write any single link over here. I'll go on YouTube, Coding Cleverly. I'll take the link of YouTube Coding Cleverly. I'll go over here. I'll take a link of my YouTube video. I'll just copy this link. I'll go back in this, and where this hash symbol is, I'll just write my link over here and I'll save it over here. I'll save this once again over here. I clicked over here and it brought me to the YouTube video. It brought me to the YouTube video. Really simple. So I hope you understand how you're going to do this pseudo class over here, and how are we going to change the link, and how is everything going to happen accordingly. So I'll show you the last attribute over here, which is attribute selector. This is going to be the last attribute, and this, you see these input boxes we're going to do accordingly. So input type, text placeholder, this is a text input. You see this is a text input field, then this is a password, this is a password field, this is a text over here, and this is a password field. So we're going to go back in our code and we're going to be writing over here that the input type input, and we're going to be writing in these brackets that the type, what's the type, we want to write text inside. Okay, so we're going to change the type into text. So we change the type into text. So we'll be opening the bracket over here. We wrote the input type text, and we'll add borders in these. Border 5 pixel, and we'll just say solid gray. We'll just add the color of it. It's solid gray. So we're gonna save this, and we're gonna go over here, and it's gonna change into solid gray color. You see, this is solid gray color, and now you could write anything inside. We could write the password over here. Password's not going to be shown over here, and we could write the text over here. Text is going to be shown over here because this is a password. That's why it's hidden over here, and you're not going to know how the password is going to be written. So hopefully you understood everything. This is the code for the CSS. It's really simple. I told you every single how we did use these selectors and CSS selectors. They're really simple. First is the element selector, then the class selector, followed by the ID selector, precedent selector, pseudo selector, and attribute selector. I hope you got all of these selectors and you're gonna get these code. It's really simple. You just have to select, you have to contain them, and you gotta link them. I linked this CSS over here. So if you don't want to link it and you want to use inline, you could use a style link over here. Sorry, I have to open this style link over here. I'll just do it once again. Style. There, this end one. I'll copy all of this, my text, all of this text. I'll copy this. I'll just close this, and I'll write this in the style. This is how you do inline. It's all going to be written in one page. I'll save it, and it's still going to be working over here. So I'll show you how I did it. So I wrote my doc type HTML and everything. I below, follow below, I wrote the boilerplate. Then I wrote a style tag, and I wrote all of my code inside. Then I did everything accordingly, which is going to be really simple. This is how you do inline, and this is how you do internal. And inline, you got to do every single line, which is going to be really hard, and it's going to be really complex. So we don't want our code to be so complex and really hard to understand by yourself. So hopefully you got everything and you understood everything. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.